Seems like it's just been 24 hours since we did one of these things. Well, you often hear me talk about the machinery of democracy. And so today I'm going to talk about another key element of that machine. Today is about ensuring confidence in the outcome of our elections in Georgia and really across our entire country. Today, as Georgia law requires, I am announcing the statewide contest that will be the subject of the Risk Limiting Audit, or RLA. Now, one thing I want to make clear, what we saw in 2020 looked very different from the process we and the counties will be engaging with in 2022. In 2020, I chose to conduct the RLA on the presidential race. And as you know, the margin on that race was a difference of 0.23%. Because that's such a tight margin, it required a hand tally of all the votes, 100%. But in the hand tally, we saw when the outcome was then measured against the thousands of votes that we had over a 5-day period, it confirmed that the scanners counted accurately. This audit will look a little bit different in that the counties won't have to touch and count each and every single ballot. They will be conducting a batch audit, meaning they will be told to hand count specific but randomly chosen batches in their county. Every county, all 159 of them, will be doing some level of counting their ballots by hand. The law calls for a risk limiting audit of 90% minimum. I am raising that to a 95% risk limit audit. We are working with Voting Works and their Arlo program to coordinate and measure the counts and risk limit achieved. I have Blake Evans, our state election director, here to answer the specific nuts and bolts questions about how the audit will be conducted. The next step, after I let you know the contest that will be the subject of the RLA, will be the next week on Wednesday, November 16th. Another opportunity for y'all to come back, because that's when we're going to publicly roll the dice. Yes, we'll roll 20-sided dice to determine the random numbers to put into the Arlo RLA software. Those numbers then start the software on its path to let the counties know which batches they will need to hand count. There is no reason that the counties shouldn't be done with their work by Friday, November 18th. Once the RLA is complete, the state can then move to final certification of the 2020 election. I believe that audits are incredibly important in the process to reinforce the importance and primacy of the paper ballots. Paper ballots are the ultimate security in our election, and that's what we have. In the years ahead, I want to work with the legislature, the state election board, and the counties to increase the number of RLAs we do on elections here in Georgia. Having more RLAs will continue to increase the confidence in our elections. And I am so confident in our systems that I'm ready to let you know which race will be the subject of the statewide RLA this year. It is a race that had the highest margin in 2022, 9.3%. The larger the margin, the easier it will be for the counties to conduct the audit. And that's important because they're going to have an ongoing senatorial runoff race. I know they have a lot on their plate. The race that will be subject of the Georgia 2022 statewide risk limiting audit will be the Secretary of State contest. I believe in transparency and accountability to the voters, and that's why I've chose this race. Before I hand it over to Blake for the description of how the audit will proceed, I did want to thank the county election workers and the voters of Georgia. In counting votes yesterday, we saw that we had the most votes ever cast in a midterm election in 2022. Record turnout. I hope to continue to build on those records and enhance voter confidence in the outcomes of this and future elections here in Georgia. Thanks so much, Blake. Can you come on forward? You can step them through the process. But before I let Blake say anything, I want to give another shout out to our team. I want to give a shout out to Blake. Dr. Jess is back there also. He's his number 2. But I want to give a shout out to our team. But I do want to give a shout out again to the counties, the county elections directors, their support team, the poll workers in Georgia. We had a very successful election from the standpoint of processing. I know that half the candidates are not happy today, and I know the other half are doing cartwheels and handstands because they won their races. But that all was able to happen because you had poll workers that showed up at 6 a.m. to work that long day, county election directors that put in the hard work that they did. And you look at how we had such a smooth election with an average wait time of 2 minutes. You look at the processing time for check-in was 47 seconds. That's their work. That is this man's work. And he can now answer and all your questions you might have because he's going to be in the weeds and with all the nuts and bolts. Come on, Blake. It's all yours.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'll start by